Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So it is time for my Q1 plan with me. And the way I thought I would kind of do this is I want to go through and show you guys my Q3 Projo, but I'm not going to deep dive into a lot of that stuff because you guys have already seen all of my kind of pre-planning for 2020. So I do really want to focus on just how I'm actually going to set up my new P book for next year. So let's go ahead and take a look at my Q3 and just get this started. All right, so in here I have got my Q3 Projo. Whoops, there we go. I think I am actually up to date on my index, which is fantastic. So I'm gonna need to go back through here and update a couple of things, but I still have a little bit of time before the end of the year, so I'm gonna kind of wait on doing some of that. But as you can see, I've gotten a lot of stuff crossed off, which is fantastic. And I've actually already filmed my January plan with me, and we're working on Q1. So this entire spread is going to be finished after I finish this video. Then goals roadmap, things are going. I've definitely gotten some sections pretty well completed, but I think some of this stuff will definitely get migrated to next year, and honestly, no big deal. I kind of bit off a lot for 2019, and I knew it wasn't necessarily going to be stuff that I could fully complete in 2019, so it's not a big deal if I have to migrate some stuff. I still did, I think, a lot more than I would have done if I hadn't set my goals, so, you know, looking at the upside. I have my projects timeline, which I've been using as my sewing setup. I am most likely going to keep this setup for next year, for Q1. I don't really like using this for actual project stuff, but for a tracker kind of for where I am in different sewing projects, I think it is really useful. But I think I will probably wait to set it up until I get to the end of the year, because I have a couple of projects currently in the works that I'm hopefully going to finish. I definitely won't finish all of them, but I'm hopefully going to finish some of these projects. And so rather than having stuff that I then have to already cross off, I'd rather just save it for completely new projects that I'm going to be working on in 2020. But I do like how this, it really just helps me kind of stay organized. So October, so because this is a new quarter, I am going to go through all of my monthlies and weeklies just so you guys can kind of see. So as you can see, this entire section just didn't happen because I was in Korea, and I just marked it like that, and we're going to move on. So things were going pretty well. This is November, got a ton of YouTube stuff done. I got a fair amount of sewing. I have not done anything on my font probably in the last 2.5 months. I need to work on that. But honestly, I've just had other things that are a little bit more time sensitive that have been priorities, and I've been pushing it off. I think part of it is that I'm afraid to finish because what if it's horrible kind of thing. But I honestly just need to suck it up, finish the font. It's my first one. It's not going to be perfect. There are going to be things that I will learn from, things I will not have done very well that I will hopefully do better the next time. And I honestly just need to like finish it so that I've done the process through once and I can start learning and going from there. Anyway, so that has been going pretty well. This is still in use. I've actually done my grades. I need to work on grading. I actually have to update that because I have more things I have to grade. So this will get used up through the end of December. And then here is December. So I haven't actually finished, let's see, yesterday, what did I do? Oh, I did, I knit. So I knit the second sleeve for my Nolita sweater, and I started working on some stuff there. So that at least is that. And I also made phone calls. I want that to go on there because I'm really proud of myself because I hate making phone calls. There we go. So I'm currently filming on December 10th because I'm trying to clear out all of my YouTube stuff and also work stuff, honestly, as much as possible before my parents come here for Christmas. And so yeah, we're trying to just get stuff done. So this side, honestly, not very much has happened yet. I'm working on it. We'll see what all I get done. Yeah, we'll see what all I get done. So, oh, actually I did start this letter. I need to actually kind of finish it. Let's see, anything else that I can actually do? Honestly, nothing, unfortunately. Yeah, I've had a lot of stuff that I've been putting off for a while that have gotten migrated, and they're all things that I just need to sit down and actually do, and so they haven't gotten done yet. Oops. So nothing on here yet. I will do my monthly reflection at the end of the month, so that will wait. And then weeklies. So weeklies. I honestly really like this setup. It does help me kind of focus on things, since obviously I have so many sort of big projects that I do on the month level. This just helps me kind of focus. This was when I was in Korea, so as you can see, a lot emptier than normal. So yeah, weeklies have been going quite well. There's always some migration every single week, some weeks more than others, but in general, I've been staying mostly on top of things. You know, mostly. There's always room for improvement. So this was the mega goal video week. That honestly, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got that done, and it was nice having like a week or so of not having to do any filming to kind of like recharge and re-get my filming mojo. So yeah, lots of sewing. This was last weekend actually, so lots of sewing happened last weekend, which was kind of great because this I've had to migrate a couple of times I think, and so I was able to do that, but now I need to work on this stuff. So that is what we're currently working on for here. As you can see, this is the beginning of the week, so I only have my actual, you know, things I actually know about. I actually can add some, I can add Saturday because Ricardo is coming. And yeah, so I've done the Nolita sleeve. I am actually currently working on filming, so things are going, but it's only Tuesday, so I still have some time, so that's good. I also have filled out for next week. So next week is the last week of school before the holidays, which is fantastic. And I have started writing in a couple of things here, but I haven't even like done my times on here or what have you. I need to work on that at some point. And I believe I actually even did, so I did set up kind of the first week of January. Now this is going to go in January because there's only 2 days in December, but because I was kind of planning ahead of time, I really wanted to focus. This is the second week of my holidays, and it's when my parents will have left. So this is a week that I can do to work on stuff at home. And so I was starting to kind of plan out things that I wanted to work on. But I think that all of this stuff is actually going to get migrated into my Q1 Projo. I just wanted to kind of get things on paper while I was thinking about it. And then that'll be the end of this one. So I still have what, like literally 1 weekly left, since I did one for January. I normally would have 2 weeklies left, but yeah. And then I almost never use these pages in the back here. Just anything that I want to write in that's a kind of collection that's long-term, I put in my end book. So end book, let's take a look in here. It's been a minute. So I think I'm up to date. I'm mostly up to date on my index. I'm running out of space actually. So one of the things that we are going to do today is I need to do my 2020 goals. So I think what I'm going to actually do is do a 2020 goals mind map and a Q1. So this will get taken care of, and I can, you know, this spread will be done with, which is good. Then I've got some stuff to do over here. I actually need to work on this. This is from when my parents are coming, so I need to make sure that I've got all that information kind of sorted out and probably put on a weekly so that I don't have to come flip back in here to look for stuff. Then Italy research, I'd like to go to Amsterdam at some point, so just some more trip pages, some holiday planning, some self-care ideas. I've got some apartment stuff, just like random important things. Honestly, this is 3 collections on 1 page because none of them needed a full page, so we just did it that way. Website stuff, I really need to work on this stuff at some point. I've had other things that kind of took priority. So yeah, font making stuff, some more YouTube stuff. This is my planning for how much I've actually gotten planned ahead of time for work. So I definitely want to work on this during the holidays. Notes for my B6 Bujo, lots of monthly setup pages, the notebook I made for my dad. So it's the sewing cafe, which I've literally gone to 1 time. Unfortunately, their hours are just such that it really doesn't work very well with my schedule. They're open basically Wednesday through Saturday. And the time that I have that I could actually go is Monday and Tuesday, which like, whoops. So we'll see how that goes. But I at least have the information there if I do want to go. I know their hours and the costs and like all that kind of stuff. So this was for Q4. This was for some tech stuff, which actually this I have... I'll be able to finish that up soon. Already started on possible goals for 2021. These are notes from when I'm in GLYPHS. If I have to do things like kerning, or if I have like basic measurements set up for different letter settings, I kind of keep my notes on here so that, for example, I haven't worked on it in 2.5 months. When I go back, I can look at these notes and see kind of where I left off. Then November, some ideas for IGTV. Some ideas for my shop, ideas for my next trip to Korea. December, tickler file. So these, I think I'm gonna need to make another spread somewhere for this, but for right now it can live in here. But this is basically the next 4 years. So this coming year and then the next 3, so that I can start writing some stuff down as I think about them, because they don't have any specific place to go. So it's not something that's easy to put into my Google Calendar. So I just like to have a little like kind of 4-year forecast tickler file somewhere. So it's in here. This was for my 2020 front of Bujo. This is for January and quarter one ideas. So we are up to now quarter one. So, well, actually before that, quarter one I have on page 36, and there are, I believe, 61 pages in here. So I'm at this point where I really like the idea of starting a new end book for 2020 to just like start fresh and, you know, get all of kind of the old spreads. Like I don't have to migrate them and all that kind of stuff, but I do still have a number of pages left. So I am not actually going to deal with this in this video because I haven't decided yet. I very honestly just haven't decided if I want to migrate my ebook or not. I think there is a fairly good likelihood that I will, but it's also the kind of thing that's just a lot of like recopying over spreads and stuff like that, so I'm not going to do it in a video. The most interesting thing is definitely setting up my P-book. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm not actually going to deal with my end book, so in case you were wondering, that's why. But we are going to deal with 2020 goals and quarter one goals, so let's go ahead and take a peek. So well actually, first thing, I've got my quarter one goals over here. So one of the things that I did kind of this morning as I was going through and getting ready to film this video is I went through my Reflect and Recharge workbook and I looked at my brain dump, and then I also kind of glanced at the other planning pages that I had sort of filled in for here, and I just made sure that everything that I had written in the brain dump was actually on this spread. So I ended up adding a bunch of different things over here, and I ended up creating 2 new categories so that when I'm going to set up my new mind map, I have all the information, so I actually don't have to flip through this anymore. So this is actually done. I will file this, but I don't need to actually refer to that for right now. So this is going to be what I use to create my 2020 goals mind map. And then I did from there, I went through and I was like, okay, what are the things that I think I'm going to be able to get done in quarter one? So I picked out in my top 5 goals, I have 2 different things that I think I'll be able to get to. For traveling, I had one thing that was kind of a priority. So I kind of picked out for each of my different goals, the stuff that I thought I was going to be able to get done in quarter one. Now, I am not yet at the end of quarter 4, which means that there are probably going to be some things that will get migrated. I don't actually have font on here, but actually no, I do. I do have font on here. I just didn't write it in a separate thing. So there might be some bits of my mind map that I like create a placeholder for, but don't actually fill in because I'm not 100% sure what all I'll get through before the end of the year. So we'll see how that kind of goes, but that is what I've done in order to kind of pre-plan. So that means we need to pull out this. So I actually had an extra pack of Projo refills. This is my last P-book, so I'm gonna have to get another P-book for quarter 2 at some point, but I think I've got like 3 extra end books or something like that because I'm only on my second one. So I might at some point need to start using these end books for other things, but I do have an end book in case I do decide to migrate. I haven't decided if I'm going to yet, so we're just gonna set that off to the side. So I've got my P-book over here, don't need my little information, and I think what I'm gonna do is I will go ahead and time-lapse you guys. I'm not fully certain what all I'm going to fill out. I definitely want to do the mind maps, and actually maybe what we need to do is chat about mind maps. Now, yes, let's chat about mind maps. So I'm gonna kind of show you my first one to give you an idea, and then I will walk you through at least the first bit of doing one of them on here before I do the time lapse, because I've gotten some questions about doing mind maps. Now, first off, I am not an expert in mind maps. I sort of organize them in a way that makes sense for my brain, but that might not make sense to you, so you might need to approach this a little bit differently in order to have it actually function for you. But basically what I like to do, and let's zoom in, what I like to do is I start with my main idea in the center. So in my Projo, my main idea is always whatever my quarter is or my year level goals. And then each little stalk out of my center goes to a main idea. So this is a pretty good example of a mind map that is actually that's actually organized. So from here, for example, I kind of do them in a circle, so kind of counterclockwise clockwise actually in this sense. So for example, I needed to buy GLYPHS. I needed the software in order to move on to the next step of my font. So that was the first thing. And then the next thing over here was finish my first font. So in order to do that, I need to prep for GLYPHS. I needed to actually work in GLYPHS, which I'm still working on that currently. And then the next thing after that was I need to then market, launch, and do my portfolio, which these are kind of independent-ish, but sort of in this like upward order. And then from the portfolio, I need a portfolio in order to apply with Creative Market. In order to launch, I definitely want to launch in my shop, and then at some point I would, you know, add in if I had a separate place that I was going to actually post my font or whatever. So this is kind of how I organize things, and it's not as, there's not maybe as many levels as some people would have, just because this is basically just tickler words, things to remind me of what I actually need to do, but it's not necessarily the whole step. And because I'm working on sort of constrained space here, I don't necessarily have absolutely all of the steps I'm going to need to do. That would then go into a separate spread if I needed to break down those steps. So let's see, for example, one of the other things that I do is if I have something, for example, over here, I need to plan all unit 2s for all of my class. So I basically just do a place marker for each class that I have. And then as I've prepped that unit 2, I cross that off, and this is actually done. So let's go ahead and cross off this one. Okay. And then, you know, same for unit 3. So this is one that I don't really need like nested stocks to my mind map. I just need a place to actually keep track of what I'm working on, if that makes sense. So this was kind of my Q4 one. This was at the end of the year. So it's going to look a little bit different once I'm starting with my 2020. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I need, first off, my, where are you? 2020, somewhere up at the front. So I need my 2020 possible goals. I tend to list things like this when I'm actually in the planning stages, just because this is easier for me to kind of keep track of, because I can do my little sections. And then once I move into my Projo, then I would start doing things in a mind map setup. So this is what I start with. And let's go ahead and take a look in here. So I will fill in all of my front pages a little bit later. That's not the most interesting thing for me to do with you guys. So, oops. I have to kind of move that over there. So start with, because I'm doing my 2020 and my Q1, that means that my left page is going to be my 2020 goals. So we're just going to do 2020 in the middle. And then I'm also just going to go ahead and do Q1 over here, because I know I'm going to do that Q1. So what I like to start with is I look at what are kind of my main things. And I think what I want to do for this year is I do want to have a separate section for my top 5 goals, because I have other goals outside of those, but that'll kind of keep me on track for those top 5. So what I'm going to do is, I think we're going to do it over here. So I'm just going to label it as top 5, and I'm going to connect it back. And then there's not really a particular order for my top 5 goals, so I'm just going to sort of put them around here, because they're not really in a priority situation. They're just the top 5 goals for this year. So those are my top 5 goals. And with these, I actually do have some more in-depth information in other sections, so that's why I'm not leaving any extra room over here, because I'm going to have to do that for other things. So let's see, next up, I think I want to do, there's honestly no particular order. I tend to start over here and go clockwise, just that's the way that I end up writing things. So I think we're going to start with travel. Why not? Let's do travel. Okay, so let's see. So I've got, and again, this is not ideal, but this is one where I've got kind of a nested situation where I have the main thing is going to Italy, and then the subcategories are down here like so. Then let's see. Okay, so with these, I found out recently that I'm going to need to go home, so I need to plan this kind of to work in conjunction with Italy. And then I've been putting off my February and April holidays, and I think this means that I'm probably not going to do any traveling, but maybe I could do a small trip. So I have some ideas. These are not fixed. These might even get pushed off to next school year's February and April holidays. We'll kind of play it by ear, see how it goes. So let's see, we're going to do sewing over here, because I actually need a lot of room for that one. And we're actually just going to call it sew and knit, because I've kind of done the two of them together. So I am doing Me Made May. I have a couple of different challenges that I want to do, and I actually did a spread in my collection bullet journal for those, so I'm going to need to sort of think about those. So for example, for Me Made May, I actually need to plan what I want to do, like what's that challenge going to look like for me in terms of what I'm actually going to do. I also want to do a Make 9 challenge, and I've actually already done my ideas for different things, so I'm going to do just numbers, because I have another spread that has the actual projects I'm hoping to make. So once I actually work on them, I can start crossing them off and see how I get them, how far I go through. The other one I'm gonna do is a knitting challenge. So it's Darn Good Yarn Knitting Challenge. And I'm actually not sure if it's gonna take me the entire year, but we'll see how it goes. And then the last step is going to be to make the lap blanket. So it's basically a challenge where you knit 6 by 6 inch squares using different knit stitches, and they've got 12 different knit stitches that you can do, and then the idea is that at the end you kind of stitch everything together and you make this little lap blanket. So I decided I want to do that to use up the yarn that I had initially bought for a scarf that I no longer think I would actually wear, so I will use a lap blanket while I'm working at my desk, for example, so I'm going to kind of repurpose that yarn for this. Let's see, I also want to do Make Your Stash. So I need to work on planning that. I've got a bunch of fabric that I already know exactly what I'm gonna use it for, but I also have stuff, you know, things that I had extra fabric from a project that I already made that I need to figure out what to do with that particular, with whatever's left over. So I wanna work on that. I also, let's see, I also wanna do, let's see, over here, running out of room. I always do this. I never like do them kind of far enough up so I can make the most use of space. So I have been really getting into, so I stumbled upon Bernadette Banner's channel, and I'm obsessed because I definitely I'm not as big of a fan of historical dress as some people, but it's something that I've always been interested in. So back in the day in high school, I actually had a Renfest costume that my mom and I made. I actually just donated it. I think my aunt got it because it's starting to fall apart because I wore it for like 5 or 6 years, and the bodice doesn't quite fit as well as it used to. So one of the things that I have decided, kind of being inspired from all of the work that Bernadette Banner does and like all the people I've kind of found because of her, so Cathy Hayes and like Morgan Donner, like a bunch of different people. I'll try and link their channels down there if you guys are interested in this kind of thing. But one of the things that I really want to do is I love menswear styles. So I actually want to make my own Lady Sherlock costume because it is like the perfect sort of melding of all of the things that I like, where you have, the waistcoat style of menswear, you've got the fitted waist and like big skirts and like all of that kind of stuff. So that's one of my projects that I want to do. And so kind of with that, and actually that's going to be a separate thing, but with that, I'd also really like to look at researching a class at the School of Historical Dress, because like how cool would that be to go and do a class over there? And also, like, I live in France and it's in England, like that's not that far. I could do it, not over a very long period of time. So School of Historical Dress. So I do want to start researching that. I kind of have to keep an eye out for when they actually have classes that are posted, because I have a feeling they don't have that many spots for them, but we'll see how it goes. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to plan my Lady Sherlock outfit, because I do actually want to do that. I've already started looking at patterns and stuff, but I need to, narrow down which patterns I actually want to use. Then I need to work on buying patterns, so I have to budget for them, and whoops, sorry, I was a little off, and like all of that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of stuff for sewing that I want to work on for next year. Let's see, we're gonna do social media next. Okay, so for example, let's take a look at sewing and knitting. So here, for example, I have the 9 different things, but a lot of them are very sort of independent. And then I just have a little subsection that might be plan or make something or whatever. So my mind maps are not very elaborate in terms of like nested subsections and all of that kind of stuff, just because for one thing, I don't have enough room. So if anything really needs that much detail, I tend to make a different spread, and I very honestly probably won't do a mind map for it. I will probably do something that looks more like this, or I will do something that looks more like a tracker or a grid or something like that. So this is just kind of an overview. I like using mind maps for an overview kind of thing. It's a little bit visual, but it's definitely not my forte. So I think I'll go ahead and time lapse from here on out. So if you guys have any questions about actual mind maps, definitely try and look online, find some better tutorials, because I am just kind of winging it. I don't really actually know what I'm doing. This is just how I found kind of makes sense for me to do this style of a mind map, but it's not something that I use very well because I tend to be a more linear, like list driven person. So without further ado, let's get to the time lapse. Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop there with this setup just because I have some things that I can't quite do yet. So I do have the majority of my mind map, well, my mind maps, because I have both for 2020 and for Q1. So I have this section here that got whited out because I realized that as I was like writing this stuff down, it actually should have gone to Q1. So I just ended up rewriting it over here. So I have, I think, the main things that I want to work on for 2020. And as always, things are kind of subject to change and fluctuate as the year goes on. But at least for right now, I think this is a pretty good start. And you guys can notice that I had to kind of refigure out my space. So everything up here is very squished out, and then I started kind of expanding as I went down over here, but you know, it's fine. So I do have a little bit more room if I needed to add something up here, but I honestly probably won't end up doing that just because by the time I figure out what I might want to have there, it'll probably end up being time to move into Q2, so won't be worth it. Q1 I have over here. Now the only one that I didn't actually do any sort of planning for yet is for my font, because I am going to wait and see how far I actually get before the end of the year. The rest of this stuff is all kind of pretty solidly stuff I'm going to do as of the first of the year, so I felt pretty comfortable getting those down on paper right now, but there will potentially be some things that I will end up adding depending on how many open things I still have left on my Q4 mind map at the end of the year. So we'll see how that kind of goes. And because of this and not really being sure quite where I'm going to stand at the end of December, I did decide to go ahead and wait to do my goals roadmap. I really want to take the time at the end of the year after I've done my end of year or my end of quarter review, once I figured out what things need to get migrated, to then sit down and work on this. So unfortunately, I won't be doing that in this particular video, but the next monthly that I have, I'll show you guys, because I think at that point I probably will have had it set up. So for now, that's going to stay blank. And then I did just go ahead and set up my sort of categories for my sewing tracker. So I have patterns, projects. So it's print patterns, assemble patterns, cut them out, and then plan projects, cut out the fabric, and sew the project. And then I also have this one over here that's things to mend and fix, because it's something that I kind of had in the previous version. I just labeled it a little bit differently. So I wanted to make sure it was very clear when I have things to mend and fix, and have a running list of that over here. I also went ahead and set up January really quickly. So I just have my little weeks marked out, and then I added YouTube over here. But as always, there isn't too much to set up here, and because I'm still in mid-December, I don't yet know what my main projects for January are going to be, so I'm just going to kind of leave those as is. So I think that is about it. You know, as always, because I end up having to film this a little early, there are certain things that I can't yet actually fill out, but I will say that I feel pretty good about where I am in terms of what I got done in 2019 and in terms of what I'm hoping to get done in 2020. I think taking that time, I mean, you guys saw all of it in videos, but actually taking that time to really plan out my goals has made this process of moving into quarter one that much smoother, because all I had to do was basically transfer information. There were no real decisions to be made because I had already made them, which was awesome. So yeah, that is all I've got for you guys. If you have any comments or questions, let me know down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hey guys, so if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and are actually watching my end screen and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. There's a little button right there for you to do it. And if you're interested in watching some more of my videos, I have links to 2 of my older videos off to the left there, so you can check those out if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.